welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton, and today we're going to talk about an issue that we tend to think of with adults and not necessarily with teens, which is violence and intimidation in dating. My guest is Ruby Gatling from the Health Department. Welcome, Ruby.
Welcome, thank you.
So my first question is going to be, why is this, I know it's a problem, but why is it a health issue?
Well, we consider any type of domestic violence a health problem because it can cause a person being abused to have health issues. It can cause nervousness, it can cause high blood pressure, it can cause you just to really physical and also mental abuse.
Right, right. And that's a lot of people draw some sort of a line, like, you know, it's not abuse until I'm physically struck or something like that. But you're saying it can be much different.
Yes, it can be a mental abuse because someone doesn't have to hit you in order to make you feel intimidated or anything. They can just use verbal words to you that can make you feel bad about yourself, that can lower your self-esteem, and also just kind of just not build up your self-esteem or break it down if you have high self-esteem.
So, Ruby, what are some of those signs that there's emotional or verbal abuse? What, you know, maybe as parents, what we look for when we see our son or daughter in a dating relationship?
Well, if you have a child that's been happy and go-lucky when they were growing up, and then you happen to notice that they're dating, but then you notice they start changing. They start getting quiet, staying more to themselves, not socializing with their friends, and just want to be to themselves a lot. You can kind of get a hint. But a lot of times when the parents ask, oh, are you okay? Is anything wrong with you? They'll say, no, I'm okay.
Well, they're a teenager. They're going to be moody.
Yeah.
It's hard to separate out.
That's true.
Sometimes, you know, where the problems are.
And a lot of times the teens don't really look at it as a serious problem. They just look at it as, oh, this is normal. This is a normal behavior for me to be in a relationship with someone, and they talk to me the way they do or they treat me the way they do. So they don't take it as serious as adults would.
Right. Now, why is that? Why don't they take it seriously? Is it because it's their first relationship and they don't know what a relationship is supposed to be?
That's true. They don't. And unless they've been around loving people, caring people, and that doesn't really matter neither. It's just the fact that they don't have, some of them are so anxious to have a boyfriend because of the peer pressure, and they don't really know what it's really all about, you know, until they actually get into it, and then they say, well, in order to keep this person, I need to do what they say.
You know, at that age, you're just so, peer pressure is so important. It is so important. Your status goes up when you're in a relationship, when you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. You are one of the cool kids, and everybody at that age wants to be one of the cool kids and can sacrifice parts of themselves and their integrity in order to do that.
Trying to please that person, or if it's a popular person, they say, oh, he's my boyfriend or she's my girlfriend. And they do what they say do, but not realizing that you can get yourself into a situation where this person is actually controlling you. And a lot of times the teens I've heard, the ones I've talked to, have said, oh, he calls me like all the time on the phone or texts me, and that is so cool because he loves me. And that's actually a form of abuse. Yeah,
it can be. I mean, if he's texting to say, hey, I'm thinking about you, that's one thing. But if he's texting expecting you to drop everything else and only pay attention to him,
that's
you know, drop your friends, drop your family, drop your schoolwork, your homework. You know, there's ways to look at that. But attention can sometimes feel good even when it's not good attention.
Not good attention, you're right. Because a lot of times the teenagers, they have a tendency to, if they're with a popular person, it's almost like they say, oh, that's my boyfriend or that's my girlfriend, and we cool, and not realizing that this person is slowly but surely drawing you away from your friends. They're keeping you isolated from them. They're telling you what, like for example, if you're going somewhere and you decide, oh, I'm going to wear my favorite dress, but that person doesn't like that, and so they say, oh, I don't like you in that. Let's go up and change that. I don't like that color on you. You
so
know,
that
so it's a little bit of control
behavior.
Yes.
How do you explain that to a teenager, though, who, you know, doesn't really want to listen to an adult because their peer group at this point is somewhat more important than their parental group?
Well, to explain it to them, I think we really have to start teaching children when they're young, because the abuse, teen dating violence basically starts at the early age on the 6th grade level, like maybe 12-year-olds.
That's so
kind of
hard
get
to believe,
involved.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Gee whiz.
6th grader. Can you imagine that? But it starts at their age, and about 12% of high school students can actually tell you, "Oh, I've been physically abused by my boyfriend or my girlfriend." So that's a hard thing for adults to kind of comprehend. But they view it as the teens view it as a normal relationship.
Well,
if they're not taught differently, you know.
And, you know, it's very hard to understand, and it's hard for adults to understand, you know, let's be honest, it's a power issue. It is a form of bullying.
Controlling.
And the bully might be somebody who's been picked on in the past, might be someone, you know, like you say, the popular person who has the power in the relationship, whether the popular person is the football player or the cheerleader.
Yeah. And also, if a teenager is that way, dating somebody, it carries on into their adult life. So they become abusive people towards their mate or their spouse.
So those early relationships tend to form the habits of what we're going to be as adults. You get used to a certain pattern of behavior. It works for you.
And so you find out, oh, I got control over this person. Oh, let me go even further. So they have a tendency to want to do that. But we have to, as adults, kind of teach our children that, you know, if a person is not respecting you, if they're disrespecting you, calling you names, trying to tell you, oh, I don't like your friends, so I don't want you hanging around them, that's a red flag for you to say, oh, maybe I need to look at him a little bit differently or her a little bit differently. So.
Well, what are some of the other things that can happen besides emotional? That control can lead to pressure to do things maybe the teen doesn't want to do.
Yes, it can. It can cause a teenager to feel like, oh, if they're not ready for sex, to engage in having sex with that person because they feel like, oh, I'm pleasing this person. You know, they may...
it's my duty, or he'll leave, or she'll leave if I don't, or whatever that might be.
And they start telling the child or the person or their mate that, oh, well, nobody's going to want you, you know, or I'm going to spread rumors about you. So
right. Or this is what everybody does.
This
you're
is what
not
everybody doing.
Cool.
You're not cool with it. And then it kind of lowers them down to that, well, maybe I better do this because I don't want him telling my friends. And also using text messages, sending pictures. You know, they may take pictures of the person or the teenager and gaining that control again. They could say, oh, I'm going to spread these pictures around on Facebook.
And social media is hard for a parent to get control of. Like
it is.
Behavior, you can have a curfew, you can have, you know, them be around you as much as possible. You can do all kinds of things to see what's going on. But social media takes it to this whole other level.
It does.
You know, when I was growing up, I couldn't have taken a selfie of myself with the Instamatic camera and
send it anywhere
at the drugstore and giving it to him. You know, things spread so quickly.
Yes, that's true.
And it's hard, you know, I always had rules that my kids had to let me be friends on their social media accounts so I could see what was going on. But they can have a second account. Text messages, you know, they can double delete. There's so much.
True, they can hide everything that they do and what that person
just
says
goes
to you.
away.
That's it. Yeah.
Sort of. Unless someone downloads it.
They use that as a way of controlling the person. And if, suppose you're going with someone and you say, well, I don't like the way you treat me anymore. I'm not going to deal with you. And so they use the text messages and all to try to intimidate you into staying with them, and they threaten you, you know. So a lot of teenagers don't realize that, you know, you need to tell an adult if that's the case, because you don't want your pictures spread out all over the media, or your friends even getting a hold of, oh, she did all of that, you know, and that kind of makes them feel even worse. But they need to know that there is help for them and that they can get help, and at least talk to a trusted adult, about their situation.
Okay, and then, let's talk about physical violence.
Yeah, the physical violence is the thing. Like if your boyfriend or your girlfriend sees you talking to like your friend that you done had for years or that you grew up with, that's another, like another boy or another girl, and they don't like it, they can punch you and say, I don't want you talking to him no more. Come up to you, shaking you, spitting on you, and just doing a lot of physical harm to you. That's a form of control as well. And I guess teenagers just feel like they have to do, in order to keep this guy, if they really like him, I'm going to do what he says do, or if I do this, he's going to hit me, and they get quiet.
Especially when it's incremental.
Yes.
Like if you're on the first date and he hits you, you might be like, yeah, this isn't working. But as things build and your self-esteem diminishes,
That's true.
It makes a huge difference.
It does.
How do we help our girls and our boys have better self-esteem and look for relationships that are more equal? How do we teach them? What do we look for?
Teenagers have a tendency to keep things to themselves.
Jeez, they
but if
do.
you notice it, you can kind of talk to your teenager and explain to them that this is not normal behavior, that adults who are in a relationship, they don't treat each other like that. But you're a teenager and you're starting out, don't accuse them of anything, because they will shut down. They will not talk to you.
Exactly.
So you have to kind of go around the child to kind of let them know, hey, this is how a loving relationship is. Or if you're watching a movie or something, say, see how they treat each other? That's the way a loving relationship is, especially if you suspect that your child is in that type of situation. But let them know, hey, if you don't want to talk to me, you can always talk to somebody else. Or how about your friend? Is your friend in a situation like that when you're actually talking about them?
Yes, going with the friends helps, because the teen herself or himself doesn't feel so attacked.
Yeah, that's true.
Doesn't feel criticized, because that's the last thing they need in that situation.
That's it.
Is to feel like somebody else is criticizing them.
That's true, and they'll just cling even more to the person, because they feel like, oh, well, this person says he loves me or she loves me, and I'm going to continue to be with them regardless of what anybody says. But if you give them food for thought, they'll probably just look at that situation and say, well, maybe I need to get out of this situation.
Okay, well, let's remove it just one step, because I think if we're talking about our own kids, obviously we're involved parents.
Yes.
There are kids who maybe gravitate to these situations because they don't have the resources at home. Their parents are, working two jobs, or it's a single parent situation, or they really need love and attention and are willing to put up with too much in order to get it. How do we help those kids? Are there resources? Are there programs?
There are programs. We have one that I went and got trained on doing, was Safe Dates. And this is a 10-session program that offers training for middle school and high schoolers to go through this program. And it teaches them scenarios. It does scenarios that they can act out. It tells them what type of issues to look at and problems, and also gives them a way of learning to control that behavior and not get involved with someone that has that type of behavior. So if we start when they're in middle school and work it up, by the time they're adults, we should have healthy adults that do not abuse or mistreat their spouse or their mate.
I think the other thing is to make sure your teen or preteen is involved in some sort of positive programming.
Yes.
Girl Scouts or after-school programs, or first of all, things that keep them busy, but also things that develop skills so that they do develop confidence. They know that it's harder to diminish someone's self-esteem if you've built it up to begin with.
That's right. And also just to let them know, hey, when they start pulling away from their friends, you need to step in and say, oh, you really need to go out and mingle with your friends. And then if they don't want to, that's when you have that serious discussion. Okay, tell me what's going on, because we need to just back off a little bit, or I don't want you seeing him for a little bit. You can see him, maybe talk to him on the phone, but I just don't want you going out so much with this person for right now because I'm the adult.
And that's a very hard thing for parents to do.
It
because
is.
a lot of times it causes rebellion and secrecy. And so, you know, you're balancing what to do there. Or, yes, you're welcome to have him in the house,
Yeah.
but I need to be in listening distance.
There you go. That's true.
You need to be in the family
That's
room
it.
watching TV together.
Yeah.
And not that I'm going to sit with you, but I'm not going to be far away.
Yeah, that's true. And also, you can have a talk with that person to kind of tell them, you know,
You're on
I
notice,
noticed
buddy.
some changes, in my child and my daughter or my son, and I need to know why. But, you know, just as long as you all are doing okay, I'm going to still be here monitoring everything until they get up to some age where they can make decisions on themselves, for themselves.
Okay. All right, well, that's great. And I know you've brought a list of resources, and
Yes.
so we're going to put that on the screen. You don't have to read through it, but what we'll do is we'll make a couple of slides and put those up so that people know where to get more information if they're interested in this.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ruby. Thank you so much
Thank you
for coming.
for having me. I appreciate it.
And thank you for watching. I know that as parents, we don't want to start talking about dating with our kids before they're ready, but we also have to think about building those models, building their self-esteem, and helping to prepare them. Thank you so much for watching.